too smart. I am too smart. I am too smart. S-M-R-T. I mean S-M-A-R-T.
Let me close with this. After I signed the PAC Act into law.
Yeah, I will always be a warrior. You can't stop me, you can't stop me now. Yeah, I will always be a warrior. You can't lock me, you can't lock me down. I will not lay down my arms. Ready to be covered in scars, 'cause I will always be a warrior.
Still have the choice, ultimate authority over what happens to her body.
But there's a child inside her.
Hold on.
What about meth?
Like, should she be allowed to do meth?
Yeah.
I think if someone is doing meth while they're pregnant, that it is completely acceptable for something like, I don't know what the name of the service is in the United States.
Child services. I guess DCFS would be.
Oh, it's her body, though.
Yeah, it's her body.
If she wants to do meth, what's the big deal?
The big deal is that she's intentionally trying to kill a child.
Hold on there a minute.
Yeah, and I see where we're going.
I don't understand what you're saying.
What is that? What the fuck is that? What is that?
In Massachusetts right now, those crisis pregnancy centers that are there to fool people who are looking for pregnancy termination help outnumber true abortion clinics by 3 to 1. We need to shut them down here in Massachusetts, and we need to shut them down all around the country. You should not be able to torture a pregnant person like that.
I'm sick of having my mental condition come into question.
How dare you, sir?
There was a time in America when contests of athletic prowess were a metaphor for the nobility of man. Historic moments forged by the love of the game celebrated the human potential to achieve excellence. But as time passed and the country neared the millennium, something went awry.
I'm gonna go with the charges.
Okay, tell me why.
Justin Herbert, Williams, Keith Allen.
Okay, all right. I guess we got time for one more.
Offense.
We'll dive in deeper here. Raiders, Chargers. Who are you backing to win this one, Stephen A?
I don't know. I'm gonna go with the Raiders. I'll just go with that.
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard. At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought. Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it. I award you no points, and may God have mercy on your soul.
But if the forces of evil should rise again to cast a shadow on the heart of the city, call them. Question. How do we call? He gave us a signal.
This day, we rescue a world from mysticism and tyranny, and usher in a future brighter than anything we can imagine.
Screw them. This is your time. Now go out there and take it. I got something to say.
Do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live.
I just wanna be great. Yeah, I just wanna be great. Yeah, I just wanna be great. Yeah, I just wanna be great.
There we go. Welcome to the show. You are one-on-one with Wes the Sports Guy here on YouTube, Rumble, X, BitChute, Odyssey, all that good stuff. Obviously, this is going to be a different show than what I normally would be doing on this channel, and probably going to stick to most of what I normally do here, which is no script. I kind of just go off the cuff and go with first instinct, what comes to mind in the moment. If you are new here, I appreciate you tuning in, checking things out. If you want to see more of my day-to-day stuff with sports and previews, recaps, all that good stuff, you can go to westsportsguy.com, bookmark that site, get all my social media links, podcast link, YouTube link, Rumble, Odyssey, BitChute, all that good stuff. Bookmark westsportsguy.com. But if you're not new here, and if you don't know, yes, my father passed away back in April of this year. I've still been wrapping my mind around that and doing the best that, only speaking for myself, the best that I can. Our family is very appreciative of your prayers, your thoughts throughout this entire time. Some days have been easier than others, but there have been some rough patches along the way, as one can imagine in this scenario, which it's hard to really put into adequate words at this point in time, even though this has been, now we're in almost October. But mostly, I would say here from the outset, the reason why I haven't been doing much here on this and other various outlets for this channel is not because of any motivation factors or anything like that. Again, this is just a hobby for me. I'm not doing this to get any kind of notoriety. I'm not doing this to get any kind of fame, fortune, anything like that. This is just a hobby. This is just what I like to do. I like to talk about various sports topics for the week, and there were bigger things to take care of, obviously, in the moment, as most can understand and relate to that. But also, I just need a little bit of time to get things together to want to do something like this, because when it happened, I wanted to do something sooner, but it just didn't feel right. I wanted to wait until a service. He had full military honors back in July, and just wanted to give it a little bit more thought before I jumped in to do anything. So that's why I've been absent for as long as I have. If you have known what the news was, but either way, it's the way I wanted to do things. And then on top of that, there was on the personal side, I was making a video for those that didn't or couldn't attend his service. I made a slideshow video and video of the recording of the service that day, so those that were unable to attend could see that. So I was working on that as well on the personal side of things. So that's also why I waited until now to do this episode. So as I said, it's going to be really no script, but I will start off by reading his, or really I'll read his obituary and also what I originally posted when he passed back in April. My father, John J. Kamathi, passed away on April 8th, 2025. He is survived by his wife, Beverly, 4 sons, and 6 grandchildren. My 3 brothers and I were planning since August of 2024 to surprise our parents for their 50th wedding anniversary on April 12th, we were all together to celebrate their marriage and the life of my father. The stories that I've been hearing for the first time this past week of how gracious and welcoming my father was to his fellow Marines while he served 20 years in the United States Marine Corps are a testament to his character and qualities as a man that I've come to admire and aspire to be throughout my life. My heart and soul aches each and every day since his passing. However, I am rejoiced to know that my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ is comforting our family as we continue our lives on earth. For now, I humbly pray for peace, comfort, and joy to those who had the honor of knowing my father and the impact he had on you throughout his 70 years of life. He served honorably 20 years in the United States Marine Corps. He retired as a staff sergeant. And after he was done serving in the United States Marine Corps, he was working as a truck driver for 16 years before having to medically retire from that. But in actuality, his most fulfilling profession was being a husband, a father, and also a grandfather. The three main qualities that every man should have, being a leader, a provider, and a protector. My dad excelled at all of those. But the one thing I wanted to stress more than anything is that it's not really that he was the man that I looked up to ultimately my entire life, because you could look at the stuff that I have behind me and every video that I've done. That's not hero worship. That's not idolization, idolatry. That's not what this is. Again, this is a hobby. Ultimately, what I came to realize a while ago was that it's incredibly important to have a father that is just doesn't have to be 1,000% active in everything that you do in your life, but just be present. Having a father that is present means the world, not just to a son, it also means the world to a daughter. I don't have any sisters. I have all 3 brothers, 4 boys is what he had with my mom. And I'm just extremely grateful that he was present for my entire life. And as I alluded to in one of those statements, he had to medically retire from his occupation as a truck driver. He was towards the end of his career in the Marine Corps. He was doing a lot of the heavy machinery. I know there's a word for it, but the word's escaping me right now. But basically, in the supply chain of things, he never was active in any war campaigns or anything like that. He went just about everywhere you could think of, almost every part of the world. He was in Cuba for a year. He was training in South Korea. I myself, when a little bit after I was born, we were stationed in Okinawa, Japan for almost the first full 7 years of my life. So that's where he did a lot of training in Japan and also in South Korea. I don't think he ever went to the Middle East. He never mentioned anything about that. Never needed to go to the first Gulf War or anything like that. So didn't go to Vietnam either. He got in at the tail. He started his military career at the tail end of that. But that truck driving job, he had that for a good while when he got back stateside, and then we almost lost him 15 years ago. And I'm extremely thankful that we got to have him for another 15 years. He could have easily missed a lot in those 15 years. His first grandson was born about that time when he had his medical issues when they first flared up, and 4 more grandchildren followed after that. But to have him present for as long as he was incredibly important and shaped a lot of who I am today, even though everybody says the same thing. You can never live up to your heroes, or your hero in this case. Like I don't think I could ever live up to what he did. But there were a lot of good life lessons in there, and the one thing that I'm alluding to in that title of the video is that he was definitely my hero, and unfortunately I never was able to fully tell him that while he was still here. It's the biggest thing that's been weighing on me since he passed, and it's going to be difficult to get over that part of it, but that's the one thing about faith that's helped me, my family, along with a lot of this, is you think you're prepared for when this time comes, because it comes for us all in various forms and different points in our lives. We think we're ready, but we never are for that day when others ultimately pass on and hopefully meet their maker. But that's where my faith is rather young. My faith walk is right now, but I've certainly led astray on this. I had a video about a year ago saying I was going to be reading the Bible every day. I was reading it every day for a good bit there. No excuses. I'm not trying to make up an excuse, but I stopped. No excuse for that. I did pick it back up about a month ago. Still in Deuteronomy. Picked it back up, read it for a few days, and then I stopped again. Again, no excuses why I stopped, but I need to This is me calling myself out, and if you are calling me out too, I appreciate that. I need all the scolding I could get to get back in reading that, because it does help. Some folks might think it doesn't, but it does. You read the Bible. It doesn't have to be a full chapter every day. Some might expect you to, but it helps just to read a little bit every day, and it helps to kind of put yourself at ease that things are gonna settle and work out for the best. But this is definitely one of those moments in my life that I thought it could be. It's like I'm struggling to find the words. Sorry, but it's just extremely hard, because I played I've played so many different moments in my head, and I'll say this real quick. If I've had other relatives pass away, and they've all affected me in different ways, as it does for everybody. For me, just pointing out this simple fact, just to kind of let you know, if you haven't had anybody close pass yet, just to kind of give you an idea of what's going to start playing through your mind at the time, as you know, you have different memories start being triggered and all that kinds of stuff. Grandparents have passed away. I've had different cousins, uncles, aunts, and there's usually some moments through your day-to-day life that'll trigger a memory of them. Doesn't even have to be like within a short period of time of when they passed away. It could be years down the road. It triggers a memory. When it's a closer relative, when it's a sibling, when it's a parent, it is much different. Everything triggers a memory. And when I mean everything, when I was back at work, and not to go into great detail of what I do, but I'm cleaning a toilet, and not that the mess has to be the most disgusting thing you can imagine, but just the fact of me going about my profession and cleaning that toilet, even that triggers a memory of my father, not from the standpoint of the act itself of cleaning the toilet. It's because it triggers a memory of me telling him a disgusting / funny story of me cleaning up a disgusting toilet and having a laugh about it. And so that's what I mean by everything will trigger a memory of your day-to-day life of that person. And that shows how impactful that person has been for you, for your entire life. If even things like that can trigger those memories, you go through all those emotions, and I look at that as like that's actually a good thing. It's it makes you sad in the moment. It makes you also laugh. I mean, for me, it made me laugh thinking about that. But it's like it brings all those emotions out, and that's good. That's healthy. It's not it's not best to go into shutdown mode and clam up and be completely 1,000% introverted at that point. I don't see any good in that. But I understand some people revert to that and they'd rather be in their bubble for an extended period of time, and I understand. And I see how that can be appealing in the moment. But just know that if you haven't lost anybody that close yet, those are the kind of things that are going to just start rushing in at you. And it took me back when that started happening to me, because I didn't expect that. I did not expect to be just bombarded with all of this information just flooding back at me with all these memories and all these different uh, things that me and him discussed over all these years. There's been a lot of funny things. I can remember the time he was spraying out a gigantic wasp nest, and I'm talking like it was, not really joking. It was about this long from my hand to my hand here. It was about that big of a wasp nest under the eave at the front of our house. This is such. He had that Raid stuff that you just spray from a distance, and that black can, he sprayed that stuff, just soaked it, and I never saw my dad run so fast before. He ran clear across the street to the neighbor's house across, and I didn't see it because I was just on my back laughing so much on the bunk bed out the window, laughing at how fast he bolted after he sprayed that wasp nest. But he says he could see that there was a wasp chasing him midair about halfway through our grass in the front yard, and he saw that wasp just drop straight on the grass after it had been sprayed. It had been soaked, but he said that sucker was coming straight for him. That's why he booked it as fast as he did. I didn't see it, but it's still funny enough to hear that story many, many times, and to tell you that now, that's just I'm picturing it right now, just how fast he bolted across that street. It was comical. And of course, he wasn't wearing any shoes, no socks. He was barefoot. He booked it. That was so funny. He's had some famous quotes too. One thing I could say with also with a stinging insect. There was a beehive in our backyard, and one of those big wooden speakers, about almost hip high type of speaker units, and we had a beehive take over it one time in the backyard, and I'm trying to find out who I can call to come and remove it, and then he comes and tells me that well, I should just call the fire department because that's what they're there for. Yeah. He said to me straight up, just call the fire department, that's what they're there for. And I looked at him with a raised eyebrow and said, do you realize what you just told me? Just call the fire department, that's what they're there for. They're there for beekeeping. Oh, there's so many of those moments. Just unbelievable stuff. But this is the one thing, though, that like I said, I should have said something sooner to him. I do regret not being able to say it to him before this time came. But I was told that he was proud of all of his kids, all of his grandkids. He wasn't one for putting his emotions on his sleeve very often, but there were vulnerable moments, obviously. No one can hide that forever. But that's one thing that I can at least have some peace in knowing that I know that we lived up to his legacy. And I know that's something that for a time I did not know if that was something that was accomplished. I can't speak for all my brothers, but it certainly was something that I thought about for a while there. But being told that he was happy with everything that we were doing and what was turning out to be a good long life for himself. He definitely was a fighter. He had those kinds of instincts. He had just the ultimate provider. He didn't literally work himself to that point where he was just tired and broken. That's not how it happened. But he definitely joked about how he was going to work until he was 65, maybe 70, and just live on the rest of his days after that. But he did what was required. He did what was required of him as a father. And I'm eternally grateful for that, as I'm sure all my brothers are. But I'll leave you with this. We didn't talk about our faith a whole lot, but I know I brought it up to him these last few years, especially with the way things have spiraled in certain circumstances with the state of the way the country has been going. Now, thankfully, we got a reprieve to course correct right now. But the one thing that I remember telling him quite a few times when we had various current event discussions, he would bring up different things that would need to be done in this area and that area. And one scenario that I brought up to him was, well, I think one thing that hasn't been tried or at least attempted in quite some time is, I think, turning back to God. I think we need to look to his his word and in his direction to get back on the straight and narrow path that leads ultimately to the way, the truth, and the life. And I'd like to think that's where he was pointing himself back to. We certainly didn't grow up going to church. Granted, being in a military family, that's something that's not, it's not that the opportunity wasn't there, because I'm sure it was. It wasn't something that was required of us growing up, to my recollection. And then even when we came back stateside, it wasn't anything that was in our peripherals at that point in time. But it's certainly something that going forward, definitely going to get more involved in, and something to hold on to going forward. Going back and reading God's word. I thank you for tuning in. This will be the end of this, and again, I thank you for all of your prayers, your thoughts, and your well wishes during this time. Things will be back on a set schedule here in the not too distant future. Just a few things I need to get tightened up here a little bit. A few little edits that need to be done, but I'll definitely be back on it. You can find me at westthesportsguy.com. You can bookmark that site. All the social media links, everything will be there, right there at that website, westthesportsguy.com. So make sure you bookmark that to get all of the latest updates. Sorry, I'm struggling to find the words to finish to leave you on this, but my dad was definitely one of a kind. He was my hero. He was the man I looked up to. And he will be sorely missed. I thank you, Dad. I love you. And I miss you every day.